Okay, welcome to the continuation of the price presentation lecture. And in these slides, we will go over different ways of calculating and revising prices based off of your organization's needs. So again, make sure that you have the note guide along with you so that you can go through and fill in the notes when we go through these different revisions and calculating of prices, so that you have them and you can use it as a study tool for your exam. Okay, so getting started. When it comes to pricing, one of the things that we definitely have to address is our ability to break even. So we want to have a price that is going to allow us, or at least we can calculate a time frame in which case we are going to break even, which means the amount of money invested is going to be returned on sales. Now, the break-even point is the point in time at which that gain from economic activity is going to equal the cost incurred while pursuing it. It doesn't tell what price to use, but it does give an idea of the number of units that we might need to sell in order to make a profit. By having that in the back of our head, we can then determine a selling price. This is going to be the actual or projected price per unit. So break-even analysis. If we were going to take a look at this and break it down into an actual formula or calculation, if we wanted to calculate break-even, we take our fixed cost, we divide that by the difference of our unit selling price and our variable costs. By doing that, that is going to give us our break-even point in terms of units. X amount of units need to be sold in order for us to break even. Now, taking it a step further, if we wanted to calculate our break-even point by taking our fixed costs divided by the difference of our unit selling price and variable costs, let's take this into an example and put some fictional numbers to it. So we have $7,000 in fixed cost. We have a unit selling price of $10, and we have variable costs of $650, which means that we take $7,000 and we divide that by $350, and we get 2,000 units. So if we sell 2,000 units, we should be able to break even, which means we're going to recoup our investment. Now, an example of this might be board game manufacturers, which is what we're using here in this situation. In order to get the money back that was invested in manufacturing the board games, 2,000 games would have to be sold. So and this is done with almost every single product. And the reason why it's done is because each different corporation or organization is going to want to know how much do we have to sell before we begin making profit, because that is the end goal, is making as much profit as possible. All right, another determining factor in determining profit, or at least in gaining profit, is by marking up the price of your product. The markup, this is the amount that's added to the cost of an item to cover expenses and ensure that you are going to have a profit per unit sold. Now let's take a look and break this down into different terms, and let's base it off of a particular room. So the floor, that's the total cost of the expenses, that's the very bottom. The ceiling is the highest price customers will be willing to pay. So in order to calculate this, we want to take the cost plus the markup, and by doing that, we will determine our price. So let's take an example. It costs us $5 to make a fancy ballpoint pen, $3 for the casing, and $2 for the ink and the refill. The manufacturer marks up the cost by $2. So what's the price of the ballpoint pen? Very simple, 5 plus 2 equaling 7. Costs us $5, we sell it for $7, we are making $2 profit per unit sold. Markdown is the amount of money taken from the original price. This is used to reduce inventory. It could also be used to try and stimulate growth within a product that might be in the maturity, saturation, or even decline phase. And we want to calculate the markdown. We want to make sure we calculate the markdown to give a proper markdown. We don't want to mark it down too far. We're going to take the price times the markdown percentage, which is going to give us the markdown. So in this example, let's say that we have a footwear store that has a few pairs of $105 basketball shoes that are not selling. We want to get this inventory out of our store, and we want to be able to recoup some type of a return on this particular item. So to encourage sales, the manager marks them down by 30%. So what is going to be the final price of the basketball shoes? 105 times 0.30 gives the discount amount. Then we take the original price minus the discount, and that gives us the new price, $73.50. Pretty simple calculations, but just applying them now to pricing strategies is what we're doing here. Now, calculating out discounts. Discount, this is going to be the reduction in price to the customer. We have two different steps. Step one is figuring the dollar amount of the discount, and then step number two is subtracting the discount from the price. In order to calculate this, we have to take the price times the discount percentage. That gives us the amount of the discount, and then subtract that from the original price to get the new discounted price. So, taking that, you might have, just like we did, I'm going to back it up one slide here. Here's an example of calculating out markdown. Calculating out markdown and calculating out discount price are almost exactly the same. All right, so revising prices. Let's take a look and say, okay, once we have set a price, you do not want to fall into the mindset that we set a price, we shouldn't have to touch it, everything is set now until we move out the inventory or we modify the product. Not always necessarily the case. Important to review pricing regularly. Adjust prices to maximize the profit, also to react to market prices, and then also revising terms of sale. If you are a marketing manager who is determining prices and you are reviewing your pricing strategies, always ask yourself, are your products' prices elastic or inelastic? What about your competitors? What are your competitors' prices doing? Those are going to also impact our prices to make sure that we remain competitive. All right, so this concludes the revising and pricing strategies, or revising of price presentation lecture. I will see you back here when we go over the third P in the marketing mix, which is place. Please make sure you revisit the slides as needed. Make sure that you get all of the notes, and I will see you next time we meet in class.